Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We are on the road again, and we've got the trailer back there behind us. I'm heading to South Webster once again to pick up another piece of hay equipment and something that I have been wanting to get for the tractor since I bought it. So for the last 4 years, I haven't done it. I've made do with other things like if you've seen some of my older videos, I've actually put a beach umbrella on my tractor for shade. But today should end that. We're going to be putting an actual canopy on the tractor. So when we get there, I'll show you what we're getting. So follow along with us as we pick up some more new hay equipment. We got to the tractor shop in South Webster and we got loaded up. As you can see back there, we've got it on the trailer. So we're going to make our way back to the house, and when we get there, we're going to unload this stuff. We're going to show you what we got and our roof for our tractor also. I was actually really surprised with this because I think for what it is a very good price. And I apologize for the shaking here, kind of going through some little rough areas and stuff. And I forgot to bring my other cameras, and I'm using my phone, so it's a little bouncy. But anyways, I didn't get any footage really there talking to the guy there. I'm always really backwards about asking people to be on camera and all that kind of stuff. You know, I got some footage of the stuff that he sells and, you know, kind of his area. And he's actually out of a lot of stuff. He does TYM tractors and Bobcat tractors, and he has just sold a ton of that stuff. So anyways, like I say, we're going to make our way back to the house. And we're going to get this stuff unloaded off the trailer, and I'll show you what we got and why we decided to go with that. So we made it back from the tractor shop, and as you can see, we got a whole bunch of straps on this thing, so I'm going to get this thing taken loose. This thing was a little bit awkward to haul on the trailer, you know, because there's not really a way to get it strapped solid. The way that the little tongue works on it, there's no jack or anything on there because this thing's, it kind of sits on the tines. So I don't know, it was just kind of awkward, so I put a bunch of straps on it just to make sure that we had it good and solid. So I'm going to get all these taken off here, and I'm going to show you what this thing is. So what we ended up with here is actually a Tar River Implements PRZ-3100. And you might think that this actually looks kind of familiar, and if you are thinking this kind of looks like an Enrossi, it's because Enrossi actually builds this for Tar River implements. In fact, the owner's manual that came with this is actually an Enrossi manual. You know, everything is 100% the same thing, just they rebrand it for Tar River. I'm gonna have to say that just from looking at this, I mean, this really seems like a good quality made product. I mean, so many of these Tedders that I've seen, they just have what they look like 2 round axles and a couple of joints, you know, like in the middle, and it kind of looks like a, you know, like a rear differential or something for a vehicle. But then, you know, they've got a couple of knuckles on the ends and then the diff in the middle, and it's a small round tube that connects these 2 ends together, whereas this one is a big beefy steel tube, and it's actually pretty thick steel. You know, they run their drive shaft inside of that where it's all protected. The unit itself is very rigid. There's no flex or movement to it. I mean, it's really a solid piece of equipment. This tubing on this thing, I mean, this is probably 8-inch tubing, square tubing right here. And I don't know if the thickness is the same thickness all the way through, but you can see how wide that is in comparison to my finger. It does have a grease fitting right here on the top, and there's actually one down here on the bottom, and that's pretty much all you have to worry about greasing on this, is just make sure you get the top and the bottom. But like I say, this tubing is nice and heavy. It just seems really well built. The hitch up here is nice and thick steel, heavy built. We got square tubing here, which there's not hardly any weight on this. It's very light to maneuver as far as like what's actually sitting on that tongue. So I think that's actually kind of, you know, overbuilt really for what it would really need. But just because they have this quality of a product, and then we've got our screw type adjustment here to be able to angle the pitch of our baskets so that once you hook it up to the tractor, you can adjust your height from your ground on your teeth, and it's really easy to adjust that. You just turn it. So we decided to go with this, one, because it was, you know, an Enrossi product to where that, you know, I know that I can get parts and that kind of stuff for it. That was actually one of the main concerns with buying a piece of equipment. And I didn't really recognize the Tar River name, but whenever I was talking to the dealer on it, he said, yeah, he said, it's an Enrossi. He said, if you need parts for it or anything like that, he said, all those parts are easy to find. You won't have any issues with that. So, you know, as it wears and that kind of stuff and things break, because it is a tool that you're going to be using in the field, and it's common for, you know, something to break, maybe a tooth or even one of the teeth or whatever may come off, or an arm or something. You may hook on something and bend one of those, but you can get these parts, and I'm sure you can get them, you know, from Tar River, but also from Enrossi too, because they are the same parts. So we ended up going with the 2-basket tedder. This has a 10-foot wide working width. And really, the main reason for that is just because kind of strapped on cash. This is the first tedder I've ever bought, along with a lot of the other hay equipment that I have. It's either the first or, you know, the first of pieces of equipment that we're trying to get to have a good, reliable hay operation. Now, again, we don't have a big operation by no means, but, you know, for what we're trying to do and the time we're trying to do it, we want to have reliable equipment and something that when we decide we're going to go out and cut hay, it'll work. We don't have to worry about it breaking down, and it's just ready to go all the time. So that's one reason we went with the new tedder. And the price, though, is why that we ended up going with the 2-basket, because we really couldn't afford to go with a 4-basket right now. And for our use, our mower cuts a 7-foot wide strip. So I figured with this, actually the ground speed that we can cover, and it covering a 10-foot wide area, I was like, well, it's going to be a little bit faster than, you know, what it takes to mow the hay, and we can probably travel at a little bit faster ground speed also. So with that time thinking, I figured that the 2-basket would do us just fine, unless we decide to get into doing hay for other people and start doing acres and acres of hay. Then I think the 2-basket is going to work good for us for right now. I don't know if you can hear that right now or not in the background. I've actually got one of those little parachute airplanes flying over us right now. We're actually not very far from an airport, and we get a lot of those small airplanes like the Cessnas and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know if this is like they give rides and they, you know, this is like an area that they like to kind of bring people to sightsee, because they fly over my field out here all the time. In fact, I was actually out there shooting shotguns one day and shooting at some skeet and stuff, and then here comes an airplane flying right over the area where I was shooting my gun, and I had hearing protection and stuff on, and I couldn't even hear it. Next thing I know, I'm pointing a gun and there's an airplane up there. Scary moment there for sure. You know, like I say, the end of our field is right in that path, so we get helicopters and airplanes and all kinds of stuff flying over. But this is actually the first one of those little paratrooper things, or whatever they're called, that I've seen. It's kind of interesting to see that. But anyways, back to this. Like I say, I think this 2-basket tedder is going to work out really good for us. It should help speed up our dry time. You know, typically everybody says about a day. So if you're looking at the weather and they're saying you've got a 4 or 5 day stretch with no rain, and you know, maybe on that last day you've got a good chance of rain, well, you can actually move your hay baling time back a day and kind of get yourself out of that window of maybe getting rained on. So that extra day makes a big difference, you know, of trying to get 3 days of no rain or getting 4 days of no rain. So I thought it would be a good investment for the property. If something did happen and it came a little rain shower and it did rain on the hay, then you can go back out and fluff it back up and get the hay to dry out a lot better than you could if it was just laying there on the ground from your initial cut. With our sickle bar mower, it just lays the hay down flat on the ground. In the past, we've actually had pretty good luck with it actually drying out. As we come back through on our raking day, it's almost always a little bit damp on the bottom, and when you flip it over, it tends to then just kind of dry off and air out, and it has been okay so far. But there's times that it's definitely flipped over and it's a little bit more damp than what I really wanted. So I think this is really going to help us out in getting that better quality hay without the risk, or without nearly the risk, of having moisture and getting mold and that kind of stuff into it. There'll be footage of this thing in action here before too long, because we are getting ready to cut our hay right now. Hopefully there'll be a window between the rain that we'll have time to be able to do that. Thanks for following along with us today and checking out our Tar River Implements 2-basket tedder. Also, if you would, I'd appreciate it if you hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and follow along with us for putting this thing to work, and also all the other projects and stuff we have going on around the property. And thanks for watching.